thinking, punk. Question is, can I get Wolverine before he turns me into shish kebab with those claws? Bob, seeing as how these claws are adamantium, the strongest metal known, and can slice through vanadium steel like a hot knife through butter, buddy, you gotta ask yourself, do I feel lucky?
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for these issues. So we're going to look at the entire Marvel Comics Presents Weapon X arc by Barry Windsor Smith. I had tried this before and I think I got first 3 parts and I decided I wasn't too happy with it, so I'm going to actually just do it all in one video. So here we go. Number 72. Each issue is 8 parts, and I believe there were 12 parts. Great cover here by Barry Windsor Smith, who is retired from comic books now. He colors this himself as well, and he's one of the best colorists. So, all right, here we go. Experiment X, and look, when he puts the glasses, XMen, this guy looks like Xavier, but he's the guy that is going to try to create the Weapon X program. And so Wolverine's like, storm's coming, and then you see this lightning strike hit the tree here. Yeah, a big one. Sorry, it's a big one. The big one. The one I've been looking out for. If you notice in Windsor Smith, he number one, he allows white, and so you see white. He also does these dull colors. Another thing you see is he adds different colors in his thing for no random reason, like these yellows and the whites and the blue here. So you're gonna see a lot of that coming up here. So time to write home, make peace with somebody. Dear Ma, you goat-headed, mishappen, wall-eyed witch, got some news for you. The secret is out. Sign, your son with the hairy paws. So Wolverine's out here kind of drowning his sorrows. This guy's here just taking clips. And you can see here he is looking for people. Cornelius flees the U.S., and so he's got Abraham Cornelius, so he's got a file here. And so Wolverine continues as if I knew who my ma was. Everybody's got one, or 2 maybe. Secrets, I mean. I got a doozy. It's a mother load. Hard hiding it sometimes, but I get by. Here you see Cornelius calling this number here. Malpractice. So he's a former MD and apparently did something bad here. Others got their writ all over their faces. They're the ones who get found out. So he was calling. Here you can see him meeting the professor here and end up dangling from somebody else's line. But you only get hooked if you take a bait, right? Maybe. Real quick, the writing is okay. This is Barry Windsor Smith, I think. He's plotted before, but I think this is his first time writing. And like anybody else, it struggles a little bit with the writing. And I'm not gonna be reading everything, just so that you know, just certain things here. Mostly I'm gonna be narrating here, but I'm just gonna read Wolverine's things before we continue here. So, and so Carol Hines, she's gonna be the other person that is going to be a big part of our story here. And so Wolverine continues here. Maybe ranges routine. I can put 6 shots into a quarter. And so here he is interviewing her again. The coloring, and get change for a gun machine when my hands ain't shaking. So the professor is kind of pondering thing. Again, a little bit of yellow. Barry Windsor Smith is an incredible artist, and that includes he is one of the most best colorists. And the funny thing is he doesn't do this coloring full time. He mostly just does it on his own work, and how he was able to get newsprint and create all these weird colors is just incredible here. Um, so I winged some geek with a ricochet. Like, who gives a toss? Suits do, I guess. And so here, you can see he is being put on suspension here. A leave of absence is being requested here. And so you can see them kind of preparing here. You're going to be able to see Barry Windsor's art really well here. Some attitude they got. Screw them. Spending my nights at the prophecy. It's for fallen Christians, you know. I ain't got that stuff, but I lied to get through the door. Hey, it's free. So here, Wolverine walking here, this treating this poor monkey, I believe here, and so prophecy is part of the apocalypse. Did you know that? I didn't. Spat as he said to, then he croaked. Some drunk bum down the hall told me that. It happens a lot around here. Been thinking about moving on. Again, the script is okay. As I mentioned, I'm not gonna go through a lot of the script, but look at this beautiful art. Again, just hitting the whites, and he's got yellows there, browns, or shades of brown, shades of gray. And so here's this poor monkey being treated for the Weapon X thing. And so Wolverine here is getting in a fight here, and these guys are watching him here. Yeah, catching the 8 o'clock up to the Yukon, but first there's bills to settle and some loose ends to tie. That's cool. The professor keeps looking here at this monkey. And I think you read here and then up there. Yeah, up the Klondike where nobody knows me. I'll get away from what's coming. Yeah, do that. Get away. And so, it's unfortunate. I'm not big on animal testing, but I know that it happens. And so Wolverine here, you can see him sweating here. And I think I'll be done reading the part here. And so the poor monkey here, and the professor and Hines are getting the laboratory ready here. He wakes up having a nightmare here. Like this part here, dagger hands. So during this time, Wolverine doesn't remember his origin. He does have the claws, but at that time that wasn't established. The Weapon X gives him his claws. So origin came up after this. Origin came out in the early 2000s. So poor monkey's all dead here. And so they continue setting up the lab, and they're gonna you see them walking here. I don't know. Are they disposing of the monkey? I think so. And so again with the storm here. And so like this here, hell's coming. And Wolverine looks on, and these are supposed to be raindrops, and grabbing some of the light from there. So very cool. So issue 73. Great coloring, green with another shade of green, and then that little dark red there popping. So very very cool. I am a big fan of his colors. So all right. And so Wolverine's walking here to his car. You can see the snow. And so these guys say Mr. Logan, and then they shoot him there. And he's now in this tank here, so we're gonna kind of flip back and forth between what happened to here and what I think they said. Who shaved the patient? And then one of them says, I did. And then they asked if he used the kind of shears that they use because hair is growing back, and they're like, he was smooth as an 8-ball. I shaved him 20 minutes ago, so the hair is already growing, telling us about the healing factor. And so they grab the guy, but Wolverine's not knocked out. And so you can see that they're setting up the experiment again. This part is going to go back and forth, as they're trying to get Wolverine. He's fighting back, and then he's here being put in, and so continue here. So again, I'm sort of done reading. I'll read only if something comes up that's important. But here they hit him. They're like, hey, we're not supposed to do any body damage, but they didn't say what a tough son of a gun he was going to be here. So one of the other really cool things is that it's nighttime and the coloring. Um, he doesn't give us a black sky. I love this type of blue here, and then gives us the gray. So, all right, again, look how he carves out the white. And so here they're gonna take him, and just so cool that the way he drew this is just amazing here as they're watching him. So, and they're you see this feed. They're giving him, I think the adamantium is starting, or whatever it is that they're doing. That's what they're feeding into him. So nice, the red and the orange and the yellow. So, all right. And so she's saying here that Logan's been shot at least 5 times, and then they're like, bioscans show nothing, no epidermal, no internal scar tissue. And then he's like, Cornelius, didn't you say Logan was hurt last night? And then he goes, yes. Then where are his wounds? So they're discovering the healing factor here. Real quick, look at the coloring. It's just so cool. And so they're going to look at the readings kind of but the professor eventually is going to suspect that he is some kind of a mutant here. So you can even see Cornelius here. Our Mr. Logan is somewhat more than a human. So look at that coloring. It's just so different. You just don't see anybody do this. Not even now. This coloring, it didn't happen then. Only Barry Windsor Smith does this. So, and so Cornelius is talking to them about preparing because the patient heals, and so he's coming up with a plan. But you see the professor, he is sort of just leaving, and they're saying for the adamantium, go to reserve adamantium. And then the professor gives the order, and then he's gonna ask him a question, but the professor is gone already. And how'd you like that? He walks out in the middle of a crisis. So so this is exactly what they're doing, giving him the adamantium. So now we are in number 74. Look at this wonderful coloring, and then the dashes, the image people just absolutely love these dashes. And then this is another one with things recolored for. You can see he didn't color it. Some other guy. I don't know why somebody else recolored it, but And so here we go. They're continuing here. We got 2 nice vertical panels here. So I think we are going to go through again past and present, where he's in the tube, but then he's out. Perhaps, unless this is just going through. I haven't seen these issues in a while here, but look at the detail. This is so cool. This story, even if you don't like the writing, the art is so good. It's captivating here. So you can see that Cornelius is taking or dictating some notes here, and figured out that Logan is a mutant. So, some sweat beads. And then what you see here is just a reflection of the monitor here. And so he's oh no, he's not taking dictation. He's actually talking to somebody. So, somebody is sort of funding all this, which is most likely the Canadian government. So, all right, so out of there, in there. So, oh, look at these eyes. Look at these eyebrows. That is pretty cool. So the professor's upset that they didn't tell him that he was a mutant. The professor says, here I am with all these other people, and the secretary, for a lack of a better word, basically discovers that he's a mutant. And so he explains that he had to leave the room when you saw him leave because they were afraid they'd ask him questions and he didn't want to look like a fool. Again, look at the coloring. And I think that the color is very important because it is part of Barry Windsor Smith's art because he colors these himself. So you have to take the coloring with importance here. So, all right. So, here we were. All right. Look at that. Look at these bushy eyebrows. All right. So basically they're all they're doing is giving him the adamantium. That's all this is. And then they're going to end up testing him to see what kind of soldier he's going to be able to be. They're basically creating a super soldier. But because of Wolverine's mutant abilities, they actually create a damn good one. So look at this. He even puts a little blue there, a little bit yellow there. Just wow. And it's so random. That's the thing. It's so random. Yet when I do it, I try to do it random too. I try to color things the way he does, but I don't know. I think I try to do it random, but I want it to look like his does, and of course, I'm nowhere near the master that Barry Windsor Smith is. So, and so, he realizes Wolverine is in pain, and so here we're gonna see what an absolute horrible person the professor is. So, this the guy here is telling him he's in pain, so we saw that part. And the professor says, I think you're right. Look at that. You said you're all alone in the lab. Did you? Status? And so where they're not giving names, so we use like generic stuff. He doesn't really name anybody here. And he goes, yes, sir, and I'm not trained. Oh, God, look, he's got spikes coming out of him, right out of his hands. What should I do? And he says, stay calm, Axis. Do you have access to the patient's booth? Asked the professor. Oh, that is just lovely here. Yes, sir, I do. Then you should go in there and try to help the poor man. Yes, I'll do that, sir, if you say. And he says, be sure to close the security door after you enter, Status. Love the vertical panel here. Just to be safe. Good lad. So, he's sending this poor guy in here, and here's Cornelius saying, you and you come with me. And so he's gonna go take a look in here, and walks in and sees that poor guy that Cornelius, the professor, sent dead. So yeah, pretty cool here. So look at Wolverine here. Oh my goodness gracious. And all these people are like, he killed him, blah, 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 blah. And the professor just doesn't have time for it, and he goes, magnificent. So, sends the poor guy to his death. And so, here we go, number 75. This cover is actually pretty cool. I like the green background and it's just Wolverine here just trapped in these things. No background, no nothing, just that. I like that. That's kind of pretty cool here. So, all right. And so Cornelius all upset here. He can't believe they created this guy here. And I like this part here where one talks over the other. And so to illustrate that, they use this. So that's pretty cool here. And the professor says, I think we can make him behave. And so we're going to get kind of a little bit of what happened here. So after he kills that guy, Wolverine goes through the window here and gets her, and he's like, oh my god, he could have killed us all. And just, he says his eyes were filled with hate and fury. And actually, Windsor Smith does a really good job at depicting that bloodlust and stuff like that. And then he just falls, and the knives or the claws retract back. And I like this part. The boy is dead, Professor. Yes, it's tragic. Whatever could have possessed him to enter the booth. Ugh. So here you can see Wolverine as being, um, uh, not roped. Oh my goodness gracious. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, Cornelius wants to call the police, and the professor's like, I don't think we should involve the police. The boy's relatives can be compensated. So, all right, so they're taking Wolverine out, and Cornelius is like, I really need your trust. And he asks if he has it. Again, the coloring, just beautiful. Um, it just, I don't know. I'm in awe every time I see this art. It's just beautiful, and it only works when Barry Windsor Smith colors himself. I mean, it's just so it's so cool. It's just so cool. And he's like, I don't know, that's a lot. And he just needs his trust. And so he finally gives it to him. And so here he tells him that he's a mutant and he can heal. So Wolverine is going to be um the perfect specimen. And Windsor Smith drawing this so cool here. And so they're basically, this was the bonding of the adamantium process. Um and so he's saying, are you saying it mutated Logan to this infernal thing? And he's like, nope, he always was. So, and so they basically understand now that he can heal himself, and that's part of his power here. Again, the no background is pretty cool here as he's all tangled up. And so they're talking now about the claws, and of course, as it's going, they're coming through, and of course, they are made out of adamantium, and they think that they gave them to him, and at that point, they did, but of course, we now know that it wasn't. And so when he comes out, he is he electrocuted or hit with some kind of heating thing, and so they basically knock him out again. You're gonna see a lot of that. He gets up, they knock him down, all that kind of stuff. So they think he can be programmed and trained, and the professor wants total control of him. So here we go, number 76, beautiful cover. I like just that circle there. I love that red. Just great cover. And I know I say that each and every single time that a new cover comes up, and I'm like, yep, that's a good one. But Barry Windsor Smith is a master storyteller. All right. And so they're trying to put in all the stuff that he's going to need to be controlled. And look at this. Just wow. And the professor, like I mentioned, wants Logan controlled, and he gives him this and says you can talk to him. And does he say, "Can I control him?" And he says, "Suggest perhaps control." He doesn't know, but and so he starts saying, "Logan, you're in control, Logan." And then Cornelius says, "You probably shouldn't use his name. We're trying to eradicate that stuff." He's like, "Yes, quite." And so here they keep working here, and he's like, "You are a beast. You are an animal born to serve. You have one master, and it is me. You'll do anything." And he's like, "Professor?" And he's like, "Yes, what?" And he's like, "We haven't begun. The machine isn't on." And then he smiles here, which is so awesome. And she just looks down, and then he just, "Please get on with it, Doctor." So all right, so they keep doing the stuff, and then they overload the system because hey, why not there? And so she's gonna try and get it through here, and suddenly they see this. Now this is from Wolverine, so he's projecting to them here, and this is what Wolverine sees of himself here, and so he kind of awakens here and seeing grabs her, and he's like, "You pain," and she's like, "Oh no," and he's gonna or kill her perhaps, and the professor's like, "Leave that girl alone, you man. This is your master. You are a beast in my control." And so he tosses her. He's like, "What?" And so these are very Kirby-esque. They almost look like Kirby drew them here, based on just the way. And so they shoot, and they have tranquilizers on them, and so he's like down, and the professor's like, "Oh, oh," and he's like, "Kill him! We must kill Logan now. He's a wild animal. We cannot control him. Give me that gun." And they're like, "I can't do that." And the Cornelius is trying to calm him. He's like, "That beast tried to kill me." And so meanwhile, here she is, just like braver than he is. And so he's saying, "You're just in shock here," and you can see uh, the claws begin to retract, and then go in and out. So, and then they're like, "Look at the screen," and of course, the killing of the professor here, and they ask them to turn off the monitors. So, all right, number 77 here, beautiful. Just the color holds, no line. Um, wow, and he's retired now. And one of the things that I truly wish is that Barry Windsor Smith would have had um, more work. He's got he for someone that was drawing for almost 50 years. He just doesn't have that big bibliography of work. You know, he just um he did a little bit, but I don't think it's like Mike Zeck. Mike Zeck is another one who's been working in the medium for a long time, but there's just not as much as you would think. Michael Golden, Todd McFarlane, even Todd McFarlane really doesn't have that big a body of work. When you look at his body of work, um, it really isn't. If you look at everything he's drawn, and I'm just talking about drawing, Tom McFarlane doesn't have a big bibliography, even though he's been around for a long time here. Um, so now we see these wolves looking at Wolverine. Look at this. It's just awesome here. So, all right. So they're going to basically test him against these things. They're going to try to control him, and then one of the things is Sub-Zero. So he's been out there for 10 minutes here. So all right, and so they're speaking to Logan, and they're like, these wolves are so hungry they haven't been fed in 6 days, which, by the way, if that was true, they would have torn at each other. So now they're going to go to Wolverine, and so they're going to attack him, and off they go. And soon Wolverine's going to take out his claws and just destroy these wolves. And of course, she's like, "Can we save the animals?" And he's like, the professor, who's such a dick, he's like, "I think not, madam. I'm enjoying myself far too long. Let the animals save themselves," which of course they can't. And so they're talking here about the adamantium being bonded to the bone. And so um he's like, "Do we have any more?" Oh, what a dick. And so here he roars, and then he goes down, and they're gonna leave him there out for the night to see how he does in the cold. Here it's 15 below, and the professor's like, "Better to toughen him up." So all right, so he basically sleeps with the dead wolves. In the morning they go get him. He's okay. And we have many more trials for Weapon X. So number 78 here. Look at all these things on poor Wolverine here. And the hair. Oh my goodness gracious. All right. And so they're still working on getting him controlled, and they're adding more sensors. And so he says he gets about a 3-mile radius. And the professor's like, "That's very limited, doctor. Is that all you can give me?" And the Cornelius is like, "Professor, if you want a puppet, you got to have strings." And the professor's like, "Yes, indeed, but my design called for a 10-mile radius." And Cornelius explains, "Yeah, I know that, but the batteries are just way too heavy. I don't know uh, why we couldn't have stayed with an on-off system anyway. We didn't need batteries for that." And the professor's like, "I will have my way on this, Cornelius. A 10-mile radius." He's like, "Okay, load him. Load him down. See if I care. You can turn him on into a traveling radio station if you like." So, and he's like, "Your dissent is noted, doctor, but let's not be testy." And he's like, "Whatever." So they're going to continue getting all these things here so that, again, so that he can be controlled here. And so, again, we don't really need to concern ourselves with too much of the script here. So I'll just keep going here. They're basically talking a lot of jargon, and we just see Wolverine just kind of moving along, still bleeding. And so here he is, all so now he's basically um be all with these things here. So, and they're like, "What's the range?" And he's like, "A little over 9 miles." He's like, "Oof." And the control console here isn't from my design. And he's like, "You wanted extra power. We had to modify the staff. Show the professor the layout of your board." And they're like, "Sure, okay." And so they basically tell the professor how to control him here, and how to, pop in the claws. And he's saying, "This little piggy, this little piggy." He's like, "I got the idea, staff. See what I mean? No names." And he's like, "I hardly need instructions to operate my own devices." And so he does, it's like the middle finger. I don't think that is done anymore, but Cornelius laughs or smiles here. And so he's trying to hold him here, and then when he falls, everyone laughs, and he's like, "Shut up, all of you! Your staff are fools and ignoramuses here." Long words. So he tells everybody to get out and take a break, and the professor, he's just such a dick. "Yes, get out, buffoons." Real quick, again, the choice of colors. So he's like, "I've never been so insulted." And he tells him to lighten up and gives him some coffee. And so Cornelius, or I'm sorry, the professor's like, "No, the experiment isn't over, Cornelius. I have to know it's safe." And he says, "He's safe. He's wired and shut down. Let it go, Professor. If I'm safe, you fool me. Logan tried to choke me to death, remember?" He's like, "Look, he's down." So down they go, and the professor looks down at Wolverine and takes the hot coffee and splashes his face here. when I was young, I thought this was he was looking. I thought this was an eyeball, but it's the coffee, and it's just beautiful. Um, it's just beautiful here. So number 79. By the way, even though we're not gonna show it, the Sunspot story is done by John Byrne. So this little piece here is by Byrne, who also used some duotones for that story. So, all right. So here's Wolverine with all this stuff here. And so they have him out, and so now he fought wolves, so now he's gonna fight a bear. So, and like the wolves, the bear's just not gonna do very well. So, um, the professor is very happy. And he says, "Do we have the weapons in control, Doctor? That is what we plan." And he's like, "I don't know. Bring Logan in, boys. I think that a little more psycho something." And the professor's like, "No more psycho this and that. I want action now. Action. Chopping our grizzlies into bloody pieces isn't enough action for you." He says, "I didn't create this weapon to be some imbecilic game warden, Cornelius." And so he wants to take him for battle. So, and so he's going through, and he wants a people, and they're like a Bengal tiger with a stick up its. So, he wants them to go against people, and they're like, because I don't think this thing is in the up and up, and so he's like, "Don't argue with me," and he's gonna be in the control room. So they don't know what to do here. So personally, I'm more of leave the poor animals alone and go against the people. There's plenty of assholes out there. So, and so this guy is here, and Wolverine pops his claws on his own and chucks this guy right there. And so he takes the other one, and they're like thinking the professor did this, and he's like, "How could you? You're insane." And he's like, "This is not my doing, Cornelius. I'm not in control." Not in control as Wolverine is going through the wall here. And so number 80. All right, so he is going to go through everyone here. And the professor wanted him to see how it was with people, so he's going to get to see. And so the professor says the system's down, but he's got no control over Logan, and he wonders who does. He thinks somebody else is doing this, but Logan's just going through everybody here. Again, I'm not really gonna I'm gonna skip some of the reading here. So here the professor contacts the people that are in charge, and he's like, "Experiment X is out of my control." And they're like, "Who's he talking to?" So now they kind of figuring out that he is this is a bigger thing than what they thought. And here Wolverine is going through. They find him here, and he lets them know he's not too happy. And so Cornelius is talking to the professor, saying, "Hey, I need to give the men more firepower." But the professor's just in his conversation with the other people, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's not even talking to us here." So I see as an sort of the biting the hand that feeds. Aha. So a clean sweep, as it were. Yes. So he thinks that they're being controlled to destroy everything. And so the professor says, "There's just one thing. Let me ask: should I leave now, or should I refuge here? While Weapon X clears the dead wood." So basically, that is what we're saying here. And he's like, I didn't hear you. There's and so Wolverine. So the people that are in charge are basically having Wolverine exterminate everybody, leave no witnesses. So and here comes more people, and beautiful vertical panel. Love the red and the yellow here. Um these two are just panicked, and so again we're just going to continue, and as everybody's getting killed, you can see Hines kind of crying here, and the professor is yelling here, and he has lost his hand here. And he's like, kill him, destroy Weapon X. So all right, number 81 here, and you can see Cornelius grabs a gun. Very nice. Very nice. And you perhaps have seen this image here, very iconic. And look at all the bodies here. This is a massacre, says this guy here. So, all right. And so we're going to continue here. The poor professor lost his hand. Everybody's dying. These are about not maybe the only 3 left. And so they're going to try and hide in here from Wolverine. So she gives him a gun, and he's like, what am I going to do? I only have one hand. Give it to Cornelius. So all right, here comes Wolverine. And so they're going to patch up the professor here. And Wolverine is just going toward them. And here he comes. Very cool. And the professor's like, oh my god, I'm going to die here. Alarms here going off. Man, Barry Windsor Smith, phenomenal artist. And so Professor just can't believe that he's gonna die with everybody, and Wolverine has arrived. And so you can see all the bullets here. I haven't really shown a lot of Barry Windsor Smith in this channel, but I hope you guys like it because he is phenomenal. But like I mentioned, he just doesn't have a lot of work out there. And so he's telling Cornelius to shoot. And I don't think Cornelius wants to, because I think he knows that if he tries to shoot, he's Wolverine will go after him, and the professor's like, do as I command, and hits him here, which of course makes him fire when he does that here. And he's like, oh my god, I got him. And so he's like, we gotta get him under control here. And Wolverine kills Cornelius here, and him and Hines, and they're like, we gotta help Cornelius, and the professor's like, he's dead, we gotta go. And so the data records are being destroyed. Looks at the dead Cornelius and goes after the professor. And so she feels bad for Cornelius, and he's like, he gave his life for the project. Would you do the same, give your life? And he's like, no. And this guy, I'm telling you, he's a dick. Look at this. And tosses her. And so he's gonna try. She's basically there to see if he can lure Wolverine to her, and yes, he does. And so number 83. And so we've only got, I think, 2 more, but the last one is 3 parts. So normally they're 8 parts each, so I think the next one is like the size of a full issue. And so Um, he's gonna try and destroy Wolverine, and Hines is like, "Oh, great, just do it quickly." And he's like, "I want," and he looks at the professor, and she's like, "Oh my God, he's opened the fission gate," and so Logan's being burned, but we know that it doesn't work. But he's like, Experiment X is under control, and they're like, um, can't believe that he did that, and but it doesn't matter, and you can see Wolverine in there, and he's bloodied, and he won't die, so he shows up, and he's like, "What have you done to me?" Wonderful panel here, and he's like, "You are an animal," and he's like, "I'm Logan. I'm Logan. I'm a man," and just clawed, or I presume he clawed him, and he says, "You are the animal," and tosses the professor, and he looks for security to come help him, but there's nobody left, and he cuts his other hand off, and he's like, "You think that makes us even?" And then he's like putting his claws in there, and or his hands in there, and he's like, "Snick, snick, snicked." So now they're even, as Wolverine kills the professor. And so we now get to the final part. Again, this is 3 parts long, so all right. So it's gonna get a little confusing in the end, or at least it did to me when I was young when I first read this. So here he throws the professor into the fire here, but it turns out that this was all implanted to him, and so you can see because they're speaking, and so he sees the hand, but they're talking to him, so you know that this isn't quite, and so they give him a chance, and he's going to go and escape here, and so he's thinking about um just the little bit that passed here, and the coloring's gonna get a little weird here, um but this is just kind of Wolverine picturing things himself. That's what I meant by confusing. As you're kind of looking at it, you're like, what the heck? If this was a wordless book, this would make no sense. And that's something that um people always say, your work should be able to be interpreted without any words. The story, you should be able to tell what's going on. But here, if it wasn't for the words, you wouldn't know what's going on. So of course we're gonna see another animal get killed here, because hey, that's what we do here. So all right, and so Wolverine takes this panther or mountain lion or whatever and just kills it here. So and so they're looking at the at their works here, and so they're gonna explain what happened here. And so the thing was that they gave him a chance to run, but he didn't run. He went in after them. So, and they're trying to figure out why he didn't kill Hines. They wonder, was it an act of mercy? Of course, it's because he's not in there. But he says she wasn't a threat, so he only kills when he has to, or if he's hungry or something like that. So, so they're gonna go get him, and Wolverine pops his claws. And yeah, this part is in a dream, so this part is real here. So he ends up killing these people, and so they're still talking, and suddenly, he goes through the door, and here he comes, and they're like, shit. And so we're gonna get to the interlude and escape here. It's the final thing. So they are still alive, but again, this because of the coloring and everything, and it's really hard to tell what's going on, but it's snowing here, and you can see this is like the side of the mountain. But this part here, it's just I don't know if this is supposed to be like the Aurora Borealis or if it's something, but he's going through, and Cornelius is speaking with Heinz here, and so Wolverine is getting out, and he's had it, and so it's cold. He's getting filled with ice. He doesn't care, and off he goes. And you can see that it appears that he has killed the professor. But of course, if you read the Wolverine series, then you know that he didn't. So this actually concludes Weapon X. Now I'm going to show you just a quick peek. Not a peek here, but a backup story that he did at Wolverine. He did a flashback sequence here, and I think this cover is from 167, but he did a thing, but he did not color it himself here. He just did the pencils and the inks here. And so we're just going to, I think it's supposed to be one of this guy here. And like I said, it was a flashback sequence here. And you can see the art. He's working with or a bitograph or something, just very fine line here. And so wonderfully drawn. But, you know, this is like 10 years after he did that issue, so you can see how his art has even changed a little bit here. So now, I actually own this book as well that I'm choosing, and it came with original art. So, sort of like an artist edition. And look at this, and you can see his black and white work. Badass cover. The guy is quite the ink slinger here. A lot of tax. So you can see his work without any of the color, and the guy is good. And it looks like they lettered the book. They lettered right on the book here. So nowadays they don't do that, but back then, of course, they did. Just insane. Wow. And insane in a good way. That is just cray cray. Wonderful. You can see the blue line that he probably used as reference, but it looks like he worked straight to ink after that. So this one looks like he photocopied it. Oh no, this was kept in a much better. So this is the original page. So when you see them taken care of, that means that person really took care of it versus this one that's all yellowed. So that is pretty cool. So there we go. And then this was a unused cover, and this was done by Sam Keith. Wow. Sam Keith is also an incredible illustrator. So there we go. The Weapon X story from Marvel Comics Presents. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.